Hello, all my amazing students. This is Mrs. Roman here, educating you with love. And today we're going to be going over lesson 1 in chapter 10, finding the area of a parallelogram. So, our objectives, our content objective. I can find the area of a parallelogram. Your language objective. I can justify my strategy for finding the area of a parallelogram using cause and effect language, like since, because, as a result. Vocabulary. What are parallel lines? They are parallel if they are always the same, distance apart, and will never meet. So these lines have some distance between them, and they're both going in the same direction, but they will never ever touch if they keep going in that direction. So that's a parallel line. Same with these. They're both going in the same direction, same distance apart, and they will never touch. However, these are not parallel lines. They are going to intersect. These intersect, they cross. These, they're not touching, but they don't have the same distance. Like from here to here is not the same distance from here to here. And eventually they're going to cross. Not parallel. Vocabulary. What's a parallelogram? It's a quadrilateral. Quad means out of 4. Lateral means lines, sides. So we have 4 lines with opposite sides that are parallel and equal. So this is opposite and this is opposite. They're the same distance. They're parallel and they're equal. Same with this opposite side and this opposite side. They're the same distance. They're equal and they're parallel. Same with all of these shapes here on the left. They're all examples of parallelograms. However, look at the right. Some of them have curved lines. Some of them have lines that are not parallel. This one's going to go, if I keep going straight up, it will eventually go towards the left. And on the right side, if it goes up, it'll go all the way towards the right. They are not parallel. They're not going in the same direction. Another vocabulary word is the word area. Area is the number of square units needed to cover a space without any gaps or overlaps. So the area is how much space you have inside of a shape. This one is 4 units. It could be centimeters, meters, feet. Right now we're just going to call them units. We don't know the exact unit. 4 units by 3 units. So those are my dimensions. So I have 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, with 3 rows. The area inside, how much space is inside? Well, that means I have 12 units squared because 4 times 3 is 12. So I have 12 units squared inside, okay? Now we're going to watch a video. We're going to watch a video of Mrs. Roman explaining how to find the area of a parallelogram. Let's check it out. Hello, my amazing students. I hope you're all doing wonderful. Today, I want to pose a bit of a challenge question on you before we even start the lesson. I want you to think about what you might already know about certain quadrilaterals. So let's look at this shape. The shape is, as you know, is a rectangle. How do you find the area of a rectangle? How do you find how much space is in this rectangle, the area? You're right, you have to multiply the length times the width or the base times the height. Yes, you're absolutely right. So let's go ahead and do that. Area equals base times height. So I'm going to plug in my numbers. Area equals 4 times 2. 4 is my base, 2 is my height. So my area is 8 meters squared. All right, boys and girls, we know this. All right, perfect. But, if I know that base times height gives me the area, the amount of space inside of that rectangle, what would you do for a parallelogram? Well, notice something. Here is my parallelogram. I'm going to create a parallelogram for you. And tell me if you can tell me how we're going to find the area of this parallelogram. How are we going to find this area of this parallelogram that I just created for you? Think. Challenge. Now, what about, you want me to help you out a little bit? If I get a triangle and I cut it off the end of the parallelogram and I move that triangle right over to the end of the parallelogram, what shape is this? Is that a rectangle? Oh, so do I have still the same amount of area here? Yes, I do. So what formula would you use to find the area of your parallelogram if you already know the area of a rectangle? This is the area of my rectangle. So how do I find the area of my parallelogram? Yes, we have to still use area equals the base times the height. Awesome. So now, how do you find the area of a parallelogram? Well, we just learned that we find the area by multiplying base times height. Base is the bottom number. Height is this vertical line that starts at the top, touches your base, and creates a 90-degree angle, this little L shape right here. So we're going to give some examples. Example number 1. Let's watch Mrs. Roman's video. All right, boys and girls, so let's go over how do I find the area of a parallelogram. So remember, we find the base times the height. The base times the height. That will make a 90-degree angle, or an L shape. You see an L shape here. And then I will be able to find out how much space is it within the shape. That is the area. So I'm going to write area equals base times height. The base of this parallelogram is 10. I always say B for base, B for bottom. And then I have this vertical line that starts from the top and hits vertically, directly down to the base. That is my height. This diagonal line and this diagonal line are not my height because it does not form a 90-degree angle. 90 degrees is like when you flex your arms and you have this L shape, that's a 90-degree angle. Kind of looks like an L, right? So this is a 90-degree angle right here. I can create a box there. That shows I have 90 degrees. That means this is my height and this is my base. So 3 times 10, which is base times height. So I would say 10 times 3. Area equals 10 times 3, and area equals 30. 30 meters, we're talking about meters, squared. You always write squared when it's a two-dimensional figure, and we're talking about how much area is inside of this parallelogram. 2, I want to find out how much space is inside of this parallelogram. And if I want to know the area or the amount of space with no gaps, we need to use the formula of area equals base times height. Base times height. Here's my base, and don't get scared. I know you see the 3/4, that's a fraction. I'm going to put area equals 3/4, that's my base, times my height. My height is 1/2. This vertical line straight up and down from top straight down to the bottom to the base, creating that 90-degree angle. 1/2. Well, now, how do I multiply fractions? It's so simple. Multiply the numerator straight across and multiply the denominators straight across. So 3 times 1, 3. And 4 times 2, 8. So my area equals 3/8 feet. And no, this fraction cannot be reduced. They do not have a common denominator. There's no number that goes into 3 and into 8 that are the same. All right, boys and girls, so we're going to move forward, and now we're going to take a look at example number 3. It came out not looking like a square, but it actually was supposed to be a square. Measures 2.5 millimeters and 2.5 millimeters. Let's go ahead and calculate this together. We're going to go ahead and do base times height. So 2 decimal fifths times 2 fifths. Okay. Before we begin, I want you to remember that area equals base times height. But because the drawing's not accurate, but it should be a square because they're the same measurement across and here. When it's a square, you might see a formula that looks like this. Area equals S, the side, squared. Because all you have to do, since they're the same, is multiply the two sides times one another because they're the same. So you can make it squared. Okay? So that's what's happening here. We're doing 2.5 times 2.5. Let's start. 5 times 5 is 25. I put the 5 down, carry the 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 plus 2 is 12. I write down 12. Put a placeholder. Let's get rid of this little 2 here. I don't need it anymore. And 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. Make sure you line up your numbers in the correct spot. Now we add up our partial products. And 5 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 0 is 2. And 5 plus 1 is 6. Count how many times you have to move the decimal. That's 1 and 2. So down here, we're going to start on the far right-hand side and we'll move the decimal 1, 2 spaces, plot that decimal right there. And let's write our final answer. 6.25 millimeters squared, or 6 and 25 hundredths millimeters squared. Very good, boys and girls. Example number 4. For example number 4, we have our base times our height. But oh no, they didn't tell us the height. But they did tell us the area. So we have to work a little backwards. We're going to use the formula. Area equals base times height. Now let's just plug in the numbers. We do know area. We know the area is 36. So I'm going to replace A with 36 equals base. I know my base is 4. Times the height. I don't know my height, but I do know how to solve equations. I just use H. How do you get rid of a variable, the number, the coefficient, so you can have the variable by itself? Inverse operations. Right now, these are multiplying. They're stuck together. What's the opposite of multiplication? Division. We're going to divide 4 on both sides. Use inverse operations. Divide 4 on this side. So now I can cross cancel this. 4 divided by 4 is 1. I'm left with 1H. Is equal to 36 divided by 4 is equal to 9. So 9 yards is the length right here of my parallelogram. This is 9. Now how do I double check my work? You got it. I have to do 9 times 4. Let's stick to base times height. 4 times 9 equals 36 yards squared. Yes, I got it. All right, boys and girls, that's awesome. We are educating you here with love, Mrs. Roman. Now, did you learn anything from the lesson? Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also follow me on Instagram, Educating with Love. Send me messages